Alright, Kerbal Knots, welcome back to another episode. Today's episode, we're going to do a rescue mission. We're going to rendezvous with another ship out in space, and we're going to go rescue Gunfred Kerman, or Gunfrey Kerman. These names are so weird. So we're going to call this ship Rescue 1, and let's go over some of the important key features here. And I just took off the parachute. That's not good. Need the parachute for coming back in. Alright, so some of the key features on this ship, it's pretty much the same as the last one that I used to get into orbit and to go to the moon. The lower staging is fairly similar. I think I might have less fuel on this one, but that's okay. I should be alright. Actually, you know, I'm going to go ahead and add more fuel. I did a little test run of this earlier. Didn't really get up as far as I wanted to with the fuel that I have on this one right now. So I'm going to go ahead and add some more fuel. Some bigger tanks there. Put the 45s on. Get my swivel going here. And with this bigger fuel load, since the rocket's going to be so much heavier, if I'm only using 2 thrusters to get up off the ground, we might encounter a little bit of difficulty gaining enough speed early on. So I'm going to go ahead and set all 3 of these engines to start burning at the same time. I've noticed a lot of people having trouble getting into orbit are having trouble because they're building a rocket that looks more like this, with just a single column of thrusters, and the more fuel you add, the heavier your rocket is. You're going to have a really bad thrust to weight ratio, so it's going to be really hard to get into orbit that way. So you want to try to add some thrusters to your rocket so that you can make more thrust so you can go faster with that heavier weight. As the weight of your rocket increases, you're going to need to add more thrust to it. It's just kind of a Newton's law kind of thing. So yeah, I'm going to have all 3 going at the same time. I'm going to need some fins on here to help control it while it's in the air. So let's put some fins down here on the bottom. And that should be good. Now, I didn't quite get those engines on there at the right angle. So let's try to fix that. Let's get those engines right there. And they're up a little high. So I'm going to move them down just a little bit. Make them even with that center column of tanks. And there we go. Okay, so there's the fuel, the engines down there at the bottom that I'm going to use to get up into orbit. My ascent, or my orbital stage, once I'm out in space, looks like this. I've got 2 400 size fuel tanks. I've got the LV909 engine. And instead of just having the command pod, I've actually got an empty command pod with no pilot in it, because I need room for the guy that I'm going to go rescue to sit in the ship on the way back. So what I actually chose when building this one for the control module is this Probodyne Octo core. And this is kind of like a remote control, unmanned control technology thing for controlling a spaceship remotely. So as long as I have this on the ship, then I should be able to control it no problem. The big deal behind that is that it uses a lot of electricity in order to control the ship. So I've got to have a power source on here. So that's why I've got the solar panels on the ship now too. And I also have a little battery pack down there at the bottom, right above the heat shield. Another thing that I added to the ship to help make it a little bit easier to control when it's out in space, because we're going to have to do a lot of maneuvering in order to rendezvous with another ship, is I've added this small inline reaction wheel right down below the command pod to help give me a little bit more torque to move the ship around, because I'm going to have this, slightly heavy thing to move around. I'm going to want to move around a lot, so I figure putting the control wheel on there will help me accomplish that with a little bit more ease. Alright, so there you go. So I've got the 3 solar panels on the command pod. I've got 4 solar panels on the fuel tanks. So that way, with them all spread out there, of course they have to be in the sun. So hopefully, whatever side is in the sun still has a solar panel on it somewhere, so that I can be recharging my batteries while I'm out in space. Then I don't have to worry about running out of electricity. And that's something you're going to see on most of my ships from now on, now that I have solar panels. Is that you want to have those solar panels on there so that you don't run out of electricity. Those of you playing in sandbox mode or science mode, or sandbox mode, you should always put solar panels on your ship. They don't need to be these small ones. You can use the deployable ones, so that way you can have them, snug and aerodynamic on when you're lifting off. And then once you get out into space, you can deploy your solar panels and you don't have to worry about them being ripped off by the wind because obviously there's no wind in space. All right. Yeah, solar panels, good thing. That's the key thing to know there. Recharge your batteries. Don't run out of electricity. Now we got all three of those engines going off at the same time. Then we're going to separate the engines, and then that's that stage right there. We can get rid of this stage. We don't need that stage. We can get rid of this stage. We don't need that one. And we don't want the parachute to deploy at the same time. That would be kind of silly. So we're going to separate first all the rescue pod, and then deploy the parachute. Always double check your staging before you go out to the launch pad. All right, so here we go, out to the launch pad. So last time when during my quote unquote practice run, I was trying to make the video and I was talking so much that I kind of got distracted. I have a hard time doing two things at once, so I may not talk as much this time just to try to see how it goes. All right. So before I lift off, I want to look at my map view because there is Gurfert. Oh, Gumfrey. It's Gurfert Kerman. There's his ship out in space, and in order to intercept with him to make it a little bit easier, I actually don't want to launch now. I'm gonna want to wait for a little bit to get this ship to come around, and the timing on this generally works. Let's see, if we look at this and we treat the Space Center as 6 o'clock, somewhere around 7:30, 8 o'clock is a good place for the ship to be in order to have a good timing on the liftoff to be able to intercept with him. So I'm going to wait till he's right around maybe 8 o'clock. I think 7:30 was too late last time, so right about there. I think that should be pretty good. We'll see how good my guess is here on the way up. So what we're going to see as we start to lift off is we're going to see a little arc, my blue arc coming up here closer and closer to this green orbit of the ship that I need to rescue. And as I get close to that, you'll see a little point show up, which will say, how close I'm going to be to the ship at our closest point. Right? It's called our intercept point. And you really want to get that down to under 10 kilometers as much as you can before you really start the final maneuvering stages of the ship. Let's get a little tilt going on there, a little 10-degree tilt. Let's watch my speed. Don't want to go too fast and waste fuel. So we're going to back this off to about 150 meters. We got a little bit of a wobble going on here. That's not cool. I don't know what that's all about. It seems to be getting worse as we go. I'm going to have to put some struts on this thing, I think. Uh-oh. She's starting to shimmy. That's interesting. Got my fins going crazy there, trying to control it. What happens if I don't do that? Alright. Maybe I'm better off without the SAS here. Alright, this is going to require some intense concentration here to fly this thing without SAS. I'll tell you that much. How about now? What are we doing? Okay, that's better. I got a weird wobble going on with the SAS there for a little bit. Not sure what that was all about. Alright. So, we're well past 10,000 feet now, so I really need to be tilting over here. Let's see how we're doing. 30,000 for the apoapsis. Let's bring up our fuel view. Alright, when that gets down to 360, I think that means we're officially out of fuel on this stage. Then we'll get this tilt going over here some more. We'll get some sideways speed going before this stage runs out of fuel. 59,000, we can go ahead and tilt over. Try to get some more horizontal velocity going. And there you can see I'm going to be a little early on this one, it looks like. Apoapsis is at 80,000. Yeah, I'm going to be quite early. I think I launched way too soon. Probably wanted to wait a little bit longer to launch on that. But that's okay. We'll have other opportunities to try to intercept with our guy here. Alright, how much fuel I got left? Just barely got some fuel left. We'll wait till we get closer to the apoapsis now. So another thing I've seen with a lot of people trying to get into orbit is that you're waiting too long to start this next burn. So right now it's telling me I'm 1 minute and 20 seconds away. a lot of people I've seen are waiting like 30 seconds before the apoapsis, and if you're using, you know, a normal size engine like the 45, that should work. But if you're down to the LV909, there's just not enough thrust being made, and you're going to be falling really far down in the atmosphere before you finally get into orbit, and you're not going to end up with a stable orbit. So you got to give yourself plenty of time. Like right about now is when I want to start burning to go get into my orbital speed, separate there, separate those stages, and now should have enough time now, 50 seconds away from the apoapsis, to really stretch this orbit out and make it into a stable orbit that's not going to decay back into the atmosphere. If you wait too long, if you're too close to the apoapsis, what's going to happen is that you're going to be falling down this blue arc here, still trying to get into orbit, and you might eventually get it, right? You're going to get an apoapsis that's really high above Kerbin, but by the time you do that, your periapsis, this lowest point that you're at here, is going to be back in the atmosphere, and you're just going to, you know, come back to Earth or come back to the planet after one orbit. So, got to make sure you give yourself enough time. All right, let's keep that horizontal there. We don't want to push our apoapsis too high. Just gonna want to push it out in front there, and there we go. Now the big weight. So you can see these marks here now, these intercept points or intersections. So what these points mean is when I am at this orange point over here, intersect 1, my target, what I have selected, is going to be way back here. So you can see I'm going to be pretty far ahead. But as I burn, I'm getting closer and closer and closer. Oh, no, I'm getting further away as I burn here, as I get faster. All right, so almost in orbit here. And you can see another intercept forming. And what I'm going to try to do is get this red point here. I'm going to keep burning and try to get these 2 points to be as close together as I can. So that way I can, you know, try to intercept my target. And not really happening there. So let's see. All right, I got a pretty high apoapsis. Pretty far intercept. So what do we do now? Well, now you just kind of like, well, we can go here. We can add maneuver here. We can try to slow down, and look at that right there, right? So playing around with maneuver nodes a little bit, just by slowing down some and lowering my apoapsis, right? I can get a really close intercept with my target now. So playing around a little bit there, 10 kilometers. We got 8 kilometers. Use the mouse wheel a little bit here. 7.9, 7.0, 6.9. Do a little bit more. 6.8, 6.6. And that's about the limit that I'm going to be able to get there, is about 6.6. Looks like is the best I'm going to be able to do. So let's go ahead and plan on that. 6.9 should be close enough. So I've got my new maneuver planned. I need to point my ship at the blue maneuver node marker on the nav ball. And I'm going to need to change my speed by 12 meters per second, which is not going to take very much time. So for this maneuver, once I get, let's see, I'm probably going to wait till I get this timer all the way down to 0, because that means it's going to be right at that point. And then I'll barely turn on the engines because my speed's going to change pretty quickly, and I don't need to change it by that much. So let's go ahead and we're going to warp to that maneuver. So let's warp to the next maneuver. Not warping very fast, are we? All right, so 50 seconds away. We'll speed up time a little bit more. 40, 34, 30, 29. All right, so 10 seconds away here. Then that gets down to 0. We'll turn on our engines, change our orbit just ever so slightly, and we should get a really good intercept here to try to bring this guy home. So let's go. Boom. How are we doing? All right, 6.8 kilometers. Not bad. Not bad. All right, 6.7. So we'll time warp now. And what we're going to be doing once we get around and get a little bit closer here to this intercept point, we're going to match speeds with our target. And the way you do that is by changing the speed indicator down here on your nav ball. If you click where it says orbit and has those green numbers for our orbital velocity, you can click on it and it changes to your surface velocity, so relative to the surface of the planet. And now we have relative to the target. So right now, compared to my target, I'm going 474 meters per second. That means I'm moving away from them. Or it could be towards them. It doesn't really indicate that. Probably towards, right? If we're getting close. If we're getting closer. Now we're probably getting further away. But you can see that that speed is lowering, right? We're getting closer and closer to the same speed. Because when we get around to this intercept point, make sure my apoapsis isn't too low there. Yeah, okay. When I get around to this intercept point, the reason we're going to be so close together is going to, well, scratch that. Okay, so once we get around to this point, we want to match speeds. And once we match the speeds, because we're going to be going pretty much the same speed at the same point in space, or close to the same point in space, we're going to be really close to having the same exact orbit. And that's just the way orbital mechanics work. If you're at a certain point in space and you have this speed and something else has the same speed as you at a certain point in the orbit, then you have the same orbit. So how do we do that? How do we match the speed? Well, you kill your target or your relative speed, and I'll show you how to do that. So once we get close here, it's just going to be a bunch of fancy maneuvering here with the ship. Just going to be like spinning around, pointing towards the ship, which is this target indicator right here. So I'm going to move towards it, and then I'm going to maneuver around, and I'm going to go retrograde. I'm going to go to the retrograde marker, and I'll just burn retrograde until we have a relative speed of 0. Then you flip back around, and you point at your target again, at the target indicator, this pink circular indicator on the nav ball. You turn on the throttle a little bit to get moving towards it, and then you spin back around and burn retrograde to kill your velocity again. So it's a pretty simple concept, actually. As long as you can get this first intercept pretty close, like we did here, it's really not that hard. And this would be the same way that you try to assemble ships together for a rendezvous and try to build something like a space station. All right, so this is good practice for building a space station later on. All right, here we go. We're getting close. Notice how when we get close, our relative speeds are shrinking down to a really small number. Okay. Okay, and so now that we're really close together, you can see. Let's see if we can find him. Where is he? Where is he? Let's point at him. Okay. So we can point at him. We can turn on the throttle a bit there. And now we're going to burn retrograde. And we're going to kill our relative speed. Notice that speed dropping down. 30, 20, 20, 16, 15, 14. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Almost 0. Almost 0. Get it. Get it there. Alright. So we went past. That's alright. But now let's see what's happened to our orbit. Now we are having a really far intercept. So now what I want to do is point back towards them again. 6 kilometers away now. But now I'll point at the target. I will do a little burn towards him. Start building up some speed. Notice I'm now heading in that direction. Alright, and so now let's look at our orbit. Oh, look at that. We got to intersect now right there. We're going to be 1.5 kilometers apart. Now the problem with that is it's almost nighttime side, so we don't want to wait that long. So we're going to try to hurry this process up because we're going to run out of battery if we do this at night, plus we won't be able to see where he is. So let's kill our speed again. And kill the speed. There we go. Good enough. 0.2 meters per second. Flip back around. Go back towards him. Alright. Getting closer and closer and closer. And you see our intercept now is 500 meters. If we wait that long, we're gonna get that point closer though. Like I said, we don't want to be on the dark side of the planet when all this is going down. We need that electricity. Alright, kill the speed. Go back towards him. Gotta do this quickly. Now, what would make this easier at this point if I had also included RCS thrusters. If you have RCS thrusters on your ship with RCS fuel, you don't actually have to burn anything, and you have all these little nozzles on your ship to help you maneuver. So you can do this kind of maneuvering out in orbit without actually having to spin your rocket around every time. So it does make it a little bit easier if you do that. Alright, let's kill the relative speed. Oh, we're going really fast compared to him. We gotta really bring that down. And it's just occurring to me as I did this, I haven't done a video on how to maneuver with the jetpacks, because that's going to be the other important thing here, is once we get close to this guy, we're going to have to switch to controlling him, and we're going to need to maneuver with a jetpack, which can be a little tricky if you haven't done it before. So I encourage you to practice that, practice doing some EVAs, and see if you can maneuver without, you know, drifting away from your ship. Alright, we're getting really close here. It's time to match the speed. And now I should be able to... Alright, let's go here. Alright, here we go. Here's our little spaceship. We got a little pod. We're going to EVA. And there's our target. How do we select it as target? Oh, come on. Select as a target. Alright. So we're going to hit the R key to turn on the jetpack. And the controls are pretty straightforward. WASD, just like you're playing a first-person shooter. But you also have shift and control to go up or down in space. Right? Now don't hold down the keys as you're going. You'll see little puffs coming out of my pack. You'll notice that I'm just barely tapping on the keyboard. If you hold it down, you're going to be accelerating the whole time, and you'll just end up whizzing right past your ship, and it just, you know, you're not going to make things easy for yourself. So I'm giving little gentle puffs. Let's slow down now. All right, there we go. Let's maneuver around a little bit. We got to find the door. In fact, why don't I switch back to the ship? Let's rotate the door a little bit there. Now I can switch back to him. I'm using the bracket keys to switch back and forth between who I'm controlling here. And now we just go in for the final little approach. Oh, went too far. I'm actually on the other side of the ship. There we go. Alright, go down. This does take quite a little bit of practice. Quite a little bit. Make up your mind, Lane. Is it a little bit, or is it quite a lot? Alright, there we go. We're on board. We saved Gerfert. Now we have a new kerbal pilot. That's the other really useful thing if you're playing in career mode about these missions, is normally you have to hire new pilots, but with the rescue missions, you get them for free. You don't have to waste any money paying for a new pilot. Alright, cool. So, unset my target. Not worried about that. And maybe actually I should turn that on just to show you real quick. All that process, notice that we pretty much have the exact same orbit now through all that process of maneuvering. Just pointing towards them and then slowing down, killing your relative speed, pointing towards them again, getting close, and then killing your relative speed. It makes your orbit match your target's orbit. So you can see there's going to be little places where we come really close again. We're going to slowly drift apart, and then we'll come back together every time we go around here in our orbit. Alright, let's unset the target, and let's pick a spot to land. Let's see, if I come over here and add a maneuver here, where am I going to come down? Nah, I don't want to do that there. So let's make a little maneuver. Let's see, we want the periapsis to be around 35,000 kilometers. 39 will probably work just as well. Whoops. I really wish they could improve these controls here for editing these maneuver nodes. I guess there's a mod out there too that I haven't checked it out yet. I'm gonna have to look into that. But there's a mod that makes it supposed to make it a little bit easier to edit your maneuver nodes. You can manually enter some coordinates that you want, and instead of having to drag all these things around. Alright, so if that's where my periapsis is going to be... Oh, no. I lost my maneuver node. Got to do it again. Alright. 78... 57... 22... 22... 23... 25... this is annoying. There we go. That's good enough. Okay. So if that's where my periapsis is going to be, I'd probably start re-entering and slowing down somewhere around there. So let's move this around. And just as long as I land somewhere... Oh, hopefully I can get in the desert. That would be really cool if I could get the desert and get a crew report from there. Alright. Let's warp to that maneuver. So we can decelerate and get back home. It won't take long to do this either. It's only going to take a 2-second burn. Alright, let's time accelerate some more. Get that node counter down to about 10 seconds. Get pointed in the right direction. Alright, and let's go. Oh, full throttle. Let's do it. Bam. Should be good. Well, let's do a little bit more. 38, 37, 36, 35. Alright. Now we can ditch this extra fuel. Actually, you know what? I'm going to hold on to it, because as we start to re-enter, I'll slow down even more. Nah, I'll just ditch it. Who cares? We'll just go. And I should get rid of that maneuver node so I don't have that stupid, annoying dial down there. And there we go. We should be well on our way now. Just got to make sure we keep the pod pointed retrograde so we use the heat shield on re-entry. And watch our altitude here. Once we dip below 70, we're going to reorient the ship again. Notice the controls are very touchy here because I have such a small ship and I'm generating so much torque now with this reaction wheel. If I want to fix that, if I turn on caps lock, I can turn on the fine-tune controls. It makes the controls a little less sensitive so that your input from the keyboard doesn't really do as much. So now I can really have some precise control over my maneuvering. Alright, let's fast forward some more. Let's get this re-entry process over with. So approach the continent here. Curious to see how my periapsis is changing. This hopefully should put me somewhere over the desert. I don't think I've done... I might have actually on my last mission landed in the desert. Got some crew reports from there. But remember, every biome you go to, you can do science in the new biome and get more science points. All right, let's slow down here a little bit. Get the ship pointed right again. I want to keep that heat shield pointed into the heat so it ablates all that heat away from the ship and passes all that thermal energy off into space. Keep it going. And that's pretty much all there is to it. These missions are actually really easy and they're a really good way to make money if you're playing in career mode, and they're a really great way to get new astronauts that you don't have to shell out money for. Because once you rescue them, they're now part of your selectable pilot crews. Sometimes they can be pilots. Actually, I wonder what this one is going to be. I wonder if he's a pilot or a scientist or an engineer. I actually don't know if you can recover more than just pilots. It may be the case that every time you go up and get somebody, they're a pilot. Hopefully not. We'll find out. The first one was a pilot. This guy, I don't know. I have to wait till he's back at base. I could go back to the Kerbal space, like switch back to the Space Center, and he probably shows up on my roster now that he's in my ship. But I don't want to go away while I'm re-entering. That could end up badly, right? You don't want to miss your chance to pull the parachute or something crazy like that. And let's keep them pointed here. Retrograde. Actually, I might end up splashing down in the water. Oh, that would be a bummer. I've already got the biome reports from the water. But we'll see. Let's bring this up here. Can watch from this view, that's fine. Don't really need to see the ship in order to fly it. That's what the nav ball's for, right? Imagine trying to do all this from the actual view that the pilot sees, right? The pilot doesn't really see much of anything. He's just got his instruments here, flying by the nav ball, kind of like I do in map view, right? And that's all you got to do. You got your altimeter here, you got your radar altitude, you got everything a pilot needs. You don't really need to be able to see the ship, but we'll do it anyways just because it looks so cool. Those mountains off in the distance, those are pretty nice. And off we go. Well, we may be in good shape here to be over land. I'm gonna keep that heat shield pointed retrograde. Yep, safely re-entered. And look at that, we're gonna be right over the continent. I just wish I had upgraded my science center. Don't quite have enough money to upgrade the science center yet. I want to be able to take surface samples. You get a lot of science points for taking surface samples, especially if you like go to the moon, go to the Mun, or go to Minmus, or you go to Duna. You get tons of science points for bringing back Martian or Dunan soil or Munian soil. Would it be Munian? Would that be the name? I don't know. All right, wait till we slow down enough here. And deploy our parachute. And I actually don't know how high I am above the ground. Well, let's see. There's my radar altitude. Looks like it's broken. I don't actually see a oh, it's the black number. Okay, I'm 200 feet above the ground. 100 feet. Did my parachute deploy yet? Nope. There we go. And I can turn the SAS off. Coming down at a nice gentle speed. And last time when I hit the ground on time acceleration, it blew up. So I think that was actually what messed up my Science Junior way back when in that first episode. It's because I hit the ground while under time acceleration. That's that weird thing that happens with physics. If you're impacting with stuff and you're under time acceleration, it can really have a drastic effect. Ah, there we go. Boom. Touchdown. All right, let's see if we can tip it over. Yeah. All right. Tip the ship over. And now I can have this guy climb out. EVA report. Nope. Already done it. And what if I fall off? EVA report. Nope. Already done it. Darn. Well, back on board. Recover the vessel. And loading. There we go. And cash money. Look at that. Got about 80,000 more dollars in my pocket. I got a new pilot. Look at that. He's got 2 experience points, so he's a level 1 pilot. And he's an engineer, so you can get different kinds of kerbals here. That's great to know. So hopefully I can get some scientists. Scientists, pilots, engineers all have different skills that you can utilize while you're flying. Pilots have the ability to hold maneuver nodes, and they can operate the stability assist systems in a ship. Engineers can fix damaged parts, and they can do things like repack parachutes, which is great if you're planning a mission where you are going to an atmosphere like Duna and you want to have some parachutes. Even though they don't do a whole lot on Duna because the atmosphere is so thin, you could still use them a little bit. So you can send your lander down with a parachute, have your engineer repack them, then you can ascend back off the planet, come back to Kerbin and use the parachutes again. Scientists will do lots of cool things, like they can reset experiments, so you can use things like the Science Junior or other science modules multiple times in a mission instead of only being able to use them once. So that's kind of cool. Those are great for missions where you go like to the Mun and want to do a lot of science and get a lot of science points. They can also occupy science labs once we get those unlocked, and they can actually process science and be producing a little bit of science for you all the time. And if you time warp, you can collect a mad amount of science in a short amount of time, but you just got to let a lot of time run in the game. All right, that's today's episode. Hope you enjoy rendezvousing now. Go rescue some kerbals from orbit. Go up your prestige level for your reputation. Go collect some money and have fun sciencing. See you later. Don't forget to like and subscribe.